Hello there, here we are for round one with this red deck wins deck. We are on the draw and we're going to keep this. No real decisions to be made here. Like we have multiple 1-drops, we have 2 lands, which is basically ideal, and Mud Brawler Cohort. Snow-covered mountain. Well, that implies that our opponent may well be trying to spread us. So maybe there's some sort of sweet control deck. Or they could just be like a normal red deck and happen to have snow-covered mountains because they're cool. Alright, I see. There's something happening there anyway. So, I guess it's conceivable that our opponent's on some sort of like weird fairies deck. And like I shouldn't play out... I shouldn't play out the second Jackal Familiar here in case there's a Spellstarter Sprite. But the chances of that are like low enough that I'm not gonna play directly into that. It seems like they're just on like they could easily just be on normal Drake as well, you know. Except with snow-covered lands for style points. But you know, this is pretty bad for us. Like if we're on the draw and our like first thing gets bolted, you know, it's a little bit tough. But we've got plenty of action going on. If this is just another Seagate Oracle, I think we're not too bad since we can clear them out. Or clear one of them out and play Mud Brawler Cohort if we draw a land. It is also important to note that we do in fact have 10 points of burn in our hand. Yeah, okay, that's pretty bad for us. So I think we're going to have to be needing some of this to clear out their creatures. So the problem with like playing Valley Dasher or Cohort and attacking for 4, attacking for 6 is that they can like double block one of them to just eat one, and then we're like not doing that much. I guess we still have them in play, but then they still have Seagate Oracles. They're down to 12, which isn't low enough to get burned out. But if we just play like a Chain Lightning, then we're sort of priced into playing like the other Chain Lightning. Otherwise, you know, what are we doing with the rest of our mana? I kind of like the idea of clearing these out. Like it lowers the usefulness of further like Ghostly Flickers. I assume there's Ghostly Flickers in their deck. I might take a different line if one of these Jackal Familiars was a cohort of some description, as in the ones that can't attack unless you played a creature. Since if that was the case, then I wouldn't be able to also attack for 4 using this method. Let's see, does it matter which one of these we play? I can't imagine so. But I guess theoretically Mud Brawler might Mud Brawler might get smaller if something bad happens to all of our creatures. And I mean it's looking okay. We've got this Fire Blast that it could be tricky to resolve if they just leave up mana, but we have like 4 power in play. And if they're going to go for the kill somehow with like Drakes, Ghostly Flickers here, then we can use the Fire Blast to blow one of their creatures up. I mean, I won't want to do that, but it's possible. Ideally, in this turn, we play a land, draw a land, so then we can like Valley Dasher and Lightning Bolt. Okay. I sort of feel like there's probably a counter spell in our future. This really is not ideal at all. Since if we just play Valley Dasher, they take 2 but then eat one of our creatures. I have a feeling that if we just try and like main phase a Lightning Bolt, then there'll be a Ghostly Flicker. So I think I'm just gonna cast nothing. So I think I need to lightning bolt this Drake. Like, if they have a counter spell, I mean, that's okay, I guess. But at least this way they can't just play Ghostly Flicker. And if they play the counter spell, it might open up the future Fire Blast. Ah, main deck Dispel. Okay, that's reasonable. Yeah, we really needed to draw like a third land this game, I think. Then we would have been able to deploy out like our threats a bit better. The Fire Blast obviously just being a brick unless they're at 4. So this is why I tend not to like Fire Blast that much in games where our opponent's interacting with us. Unfortunately, they're interacting with us game 1 pretty well. So this time I guess I'm gonna go for the post-combat Valley Dasher. Since it's, we're not going to win by casting it pre-combat, and we're also not going to win by not casting any of them. So, like next turn, for example, we could play Inner Flame Acolyte and pump this Valley Dasher. Then it has to attack, and if it trades, that's fine. If we don't draw a land, then we get to play this other Valley Dasher and at least, hopefully, hit them for 2. But the game is slowly spiraling out of control. Yeah, their opponents have drawn, quite a lot of cards. Heel Cutter, kind of perfect if we had another land, but we don't, so here we go. And I don't think we can realistically, sack 2 of our lands to Fire Blast this. Like, if something happens to a Valley Dasher here, I guess that's, we have to live with that. Like, I think we probably need our lands to deal some damage with these 3 drops in our hand. It's been like 8 draws and we haven't hit a land, so that's kind of unfortunate for us. But it looks like this game is over. Opponent, not attacking because there's absolutely no reason for them to until now because they have a Muldrifter. So, like, if you play Inner Flame Acolyte, they'll just block with Muldrifter. If you play this, they'll probably just get counterspelled, but I don't think we can... Like, if we just ram this into the Muldrifter, I don't think that's that good either. On the other hand, if this is a success, it still doesn't put them into Fire Blast range, so... Might as well just play this. If they counterspell it, I'm very happy with that. I mean, not super happy, obviously. I'd rather it resolve and then they not block, but that was not really a possibility. Yeah, Valley Dasher definitely not the best against like a Peregrine Drake on turn 5. I'll say good in turn 2, but this is... we drew this cohort the wrong way around. This screams to me Ghostly Flicker. Or at the very least another Drake plus hold up mana. Yeah, let's say, very unlikely to win this game, but you never know. They could secretly just be holding a bunch of lands. I mean, they're holding 1. Let's see. So what are the chances of this hitting my opponent? Very little. Very small. But like I say, I don't think we can beat basically anything. So time to try and do this. Even though I don't think it's going to work, and I think we're going to get blown out by something. I would say we're 100% dead if this Ghostly Flicker resolves on Muldrifter, so I think it's fair to Fire Blast this. We can only hope that they didn't have anything, but yeah, okay, I can just back it up here. There's no way to win this game. So here we get to board in some Pyroblasts. And that's it. Like, we're not really interested in too much else. As mentioned before, I don't really like the Fire Blasts in the matches where they're actively trying to disrupt our stuff. I don't mind Searing Blaze at all, since it kills Seagate Oracles profitably. All these cards are pretty good. Like Valley Dasher is probably the worst one, but at least we're on the play. Yeah, we still need to take one thing out, however. I don't think it should be any of the cheap cards. I think it's probably just Inner Flame Acolyte. When we're on the draw, we can take out like a Valley Dasher or something like that. Alright, we would love to play first, and keep this one. This matchup basically depends on what mana base our opponent has in their opening hand. There are obviously plenty of games with Drake that you can play where your red sources are behind schedule. And for those games, you know, this deck can just destroy them, because if their first red source is, say, an Is It Boilerworks, then they just get run over. Here it's not too bad, like we got to play a creature on turn 1 without it being killed immediately. So, you know, we have all these creatures in play. So we get to deal a decent amount of damage, and at this point land is basically perfect. Okay, so this is a situation where, like, I honestly don't think this is going to matter. Like, if we just evoke this, they'll almost certainly just kill whatever we target. But on the other hand, this can't attack this turn either. So if I don't cast this, this doesn't get to attack. And then if you go to beginning of combat, our opponent can then burn a Jackal Familiar, then we don't get to attack at all. So we have to evoke here in order to get some damage in. So assuming this Mulk Conscripts gets murdered in some way, we still at least get to attack with our Jackal Familiars. So hopefully they don't have, you know, the triple bolt draw, because that would be brutal. We also obviously don't want to cast a main phase Chain Lightning, because they could just then pay 2 mana to kill one of our creatures. If our opponent secretly has nothing, then that's great. Yeah, okay, there's the second Lightning Bolt. We can't really do anything about that. That's obviously their best card in this scenario. And now that they've tapped a red, we can Chain Lightning them. We actually don't have very many targets if our opponent has kept in their Dispels. Well, that's pretty unlucky. These are the only cards. This is like basically the only card we don't want to draw. I guess Freighter, we don't want to draw that either. Alright. Echoing Truth. I guess that's okay. It doesn't really achieve too much. I mean, it obviously gained 4 life, but we didn't have anything else to do with our mana anyway, so that's the least bad scenario with them casting an Echoing Truth. Although it's good to keep note of this. This is why cards like this, and especially Echoing Decay, which is a huge beating in other matchups, is why if you ever have a hand with like 2 cohorts, and Mog, you know, like the various tutus, you want to spread them out a bit, basically. Hooray! We managed to defeat our opponent. So, I mean, yeah, that was another good example of games where if like the third land we drew was Forgotten Cave, it would have been a huge disaster. And let's see. Do we want to reevaluate our board? I don't think so. I think I mean, I could still theoretically take this out and put in Inner Flame Acolyte, which would be reasonable since this is so bad against Drake. And also we could take out like a Chain Lightning just to put in another creature since our creatures die all the time. I actually think that's reasonable. I mean, I don't love filling my deck with 3-drops, but these Porcelain Legionnaires are actually 2-drops, so we only have this many expensive cards. Like the Chain Lightning's value drops. The more our creatures get killed because then it's not clearing the way for the creatures. This hand has so many lands. If we draw like any spell though, I think it's fairly good. But I don't think it's close because we're on the draw and we can at least play this. I think if this was like a different 2-drop, I'd be more on board. But I think I have to mulligan it. I have to mulligan that one too. Oh, this is sort of a disaster. I don't think we can keep this. I mean, I guess we sort of can since it makes a follow-up land a good draw. But no, I think we need more cheap threats. Being on draw and mulliganing is a disaster, but I mean it's entirely possible we could have kept that first land. But as you see, like these bolts are very bad when you don't have enough creatures, and we sure don't have enough creatures here. This looks like our opponent threatening to lightning bolt or flame slash. I think this means they probably have a lightning bolt then. And we're considering saving it for whatever we play next. If this is a Pyroblast, I think the game's over. Or a Hydroblast, rather. Yeah, like we just, I mean, our 7-card hand also dies miserably to this sequence of events. And obviously we could have just drawn some creatures off the top, but we also could have done that here too. I mean, I'm not gonna concede just yet or anything, but this is why I, put more faith in the creatures rather than these random burn spells. Our opponents even got 2-lander preordained and not played a 3rd land, which suggests to me that their hand is probably just filled with more removal. I'm not gonna run this out there. If they don't hit land drop, they need to start discarding, and we can actually start saving up to do a big Bushwhacker turn, possibly. So I could cohort here. I think there's almost certainly going to be like a counterspell or something. I'm just going to build up a bit more. Let my opponent discard some things. Probably if they hit a 3rd land, they'll want to lead with like a Seagate Oracle or something, where we can disrupt that. I think now is probably acceptable. Maybe? Because then we can like cohort, Bushwhacker, and like Pyroblast if there's like a blue spell. I think it's reasonable. Because we can't actually sit around forever, because eventually they will draw some lands. And this is quite a lot of damage if this is a counterspell that they want to use. Because counterspells are pretty clunky in this scenario. So I had a strong feeling that they were going to do that. Since they're so constrained on mana, it's very difficult for them to just keep up blue-blue all the time. Our beatdown is not exactly fast here, but it's not nothing. Basically, since we immediately drew 3 lands, obviously regretting keeping and shipping the heel cutter when we had only 2, but we didn't know what was happening. We could have obviously just drawn a bunch of 2-drops instead, and that would have been much better. Let's see. I think I should probably just chain lightning my opponent now. It's getting to the stage where they're going to be able to just randomly have a couple of red mana up later on, so keeping this one though. Although it's looking real bad now. They're at 4 mana. There's 6 cards in hand, 10 life. That is a lot. So yeah, we need like back-to-back heel cutters in order to steal this game. Yeah, well, there's the predicted Seagate Oracle. Obviously, if this was a different land, it'd be much better for us for the Seagate Oracle, since then we could like kill it and not have to worry about bolts and hydroblasts and so on. Well, time to play Inner Flame Acolyte. That's not a bad card. I expect something bad will happen to our Inner Flame Acolyte. But if I if I bolt this and they don't have like a Hydroblast or something or another bolt, then they can take 5, and that's probably good for us. But again, Lightning Bolt is definitely their best card against us. So if they have multiples, you know, what's you gonna do? We can't really afford to play around a whole lot, having started off with a couple of lands short, but them missing a few lands and then us deliberately not playing out our cards to make them discard, evened it up a little bit. Okay, that's fair for them to draw their 4th land. I think that's probably game then, since they have a good blocker, 2 good blockers. We are unlikely to be able to resolve and attack with heel cutters, but you never know. More conscripts. It doesn't really do anything at the moment, but it may as well play out. I think we weren't too far off being able to win this game. But yeah, the heel cutter shipping it on our multi-5. Definitely punishing us in hindsight. Opponent almost certainly got more counter spells since they were so eager to play the first one. So I don't think I want to cast this one, even though it would let us attack with these. I think it just won't work. And even if it did work, they still get to like eat this bushwhacker, like block this one. I don't know. Maybe I should have just gone for it. Well, there's a cohort at least, so then there's like an extra creature that you need to deal with. But like I say, I'm expecting a counterspell on this bushwhacker. Huh. I think they probably still have it, but they just cycled that to try and make me think I don't. But maybe I'm just wildly incorrect. Alright, YOLO. I can't see how they can have nothing in their hand though. I mean, possibly they have some electricries which are generally like only kill Bushwhacker. That could be something. As I mentioned in the deck tech, most of these decks have some like shred freaks or something. So it's not unreasonable for someone to have brought in electricry. Although I obviously personally would not. I can't imagine what they have in their hand though. I mean, maybe it's just a bunch of ghostly flickers. Well, I guess I'll just, cross my fingers. Is that an Echoing Truth, maybe? I guess Echoing Truth would make sense, since this is um, obviously lethal. Alright, we have another Lightning Bolt. Presumably another Lightning Bolt. Yeah, okay. Okay. I mean, I got some damage in. I couldn't exactly play around those. Mulldrifter? Yep. It's always Mulldrifter, just when they're about out of cards, because I can't imagine they wouldn't have played Mulldrifter if they had it last turn. That land, not ideal. So, I mean, it's possible that they could just flood out at this point. They were screwed at the start of the game. Now maybe they flood, but it seems unlikely since they have so many cards. But we can obviously draw one of our lightning bolts. We've drawn one and the chain lightning already, so we don't have too many of those left. Maybe we'll draw a train. Well, at least with all these conscripts in play, a future Bushwhacker could be at least somewhat threatening. Although obviously we're dead at any time to Archaeomancer, because then they could just get back Ghostly Flicker. Yeah, alright. So they're looking through 4 cards, which makes bad times for me, since they're presumably either drawing ways to stop us from killing them or drawing ways to kill us. You see, like Drake, definitely not unbeatable or anything. We're not too far away, but we have lost this game. Come and see us for round 2.